Hey guys, my name is Ryan and welcome to Overwatch Central. There isn't a lot of news, to be honest. The content has been quite dry. It's the same Christmas event that we've expected to see, and we're heading into the Christmas and festive period, which usually means that the developers go home, of course have some well-deserved time off, but it does mean for the rest of us that things and content can be quite dry. But I feel that that's been par for the course, at least with the second half of 2018 for Blizzard, especially Overwatch, but I do want to focus in this video on looking at the broader spectrum of Activision and Blizzard and all of the issues going around that, and ultimately how it has affected Overwatch already and how it may affect it even more into 2019. Three major things have happened at Blizzard over the past couple of months. Mike Morhaime, who was the president of Blizzard Entertainment, stepped down and J. Allen Brack took the lead. Diablo Immortal was announced with a lot of problems surrounding this BlizzCon, and very recently Blizzard has pulled developers away from Heroes of the Storm and is closing down things such as HDC and Heroes of the Dawn, which were their esports events. The Overwatch comparison would be Blizzard shutting down the Overwatch League and the World Cup. At least for 2019, but they haven't spoken about bringing it back. Cuts have been made all over the place for Activision Blizzard, and I do want to sort of look at where this all came from and how Overwatch fits into this. With the popularity of Overwatch, it's now become the flagship of Blizzard, really. You of course have big games like World of Warcraft, Hearthstone, StarCraft and more, but Overwatch must be one, if not the biggest game that Blizzard have right now when it comes to making money. To take a report from Kotaku, Blizzard staff is increasingly believing that Activision is building its power and influence over the developers. A lot of the devs who used to work and still do work at Blizzard all were anonymous in this, and a lot of the focus was on Diablo, an expansion for Diablo 2 that was cancelled, and the confirmation of Diablo 4 in the works. For those that don't know, Activision actually merged with the publisher Vivendi, which was Blizzard's holding company. Blizzard has never really been indie, but Activision effectively bought them out, and they became Activision Blizzard in 2008. But up until now, Blizzard has remained a certain separate entity and has done a lot of its own stuff itself, with of course integration with stuff like Destiny and Call of Duty now on the Blizzard launcher. There were some reasons why the synergy and merge between the two was good, but it does seem and feel like Activision is increasing its presence and influence over Blizzard and maybe forcing out discussions. Again, that's not really the point of this video. I don't really want to start getting into that element of stuff, but I do want to go over how it's going to affect Overwatch. Earlier this year in spring, Blizzard had an annual company-wide battle plan, which is basically a big meeting with chief financial officers and had all of the staff present. And one of the main chief financial officers apparently said that one of the main focuses for 2018 at least was to save money. One of the people that were interviewed in this article said that this is the first year we've heard a priority being cutting costs and try not to spend as much. It was presented as, don't spend money where it isn't necessary. Of course, 6 to 8 months later, we can see this in motion. HGC and Heroes of the Dawn and developers being taken away from Heroes of the Storm and put onto new IPs, no doubt, or new games. There's definitely a sense of Blizzard trying to save money where they can. And then certainly weighing up the options to see which games are worth their time and which games aren't. And unfortunately, Heroes of the Storm is going to be the dead horse that they may keep on beating. But that's all well and good, Ryan, but how does this affect Overwatch? Well, it does state in here a couple of times that in 2016 Overwatch was a smash hit, but they did raise a really good point that in 2017 and 2018 the company as a whole shipped very little. There was no new IPs, there was the StarCraft remaster, World of Warcraft expansion of course, and then patches and updates. Nothing major, nothing is going to make as much money for Overwatch as the launch. And certainly you can see that from a YouTuber's perspective, right? The most popular time that we've had on this channel was around the launch of the game. It makes sense, right? Another thing to highlight in here is that one worrying trend for the beam counters was the stagnancy of Blizzard's monthly active users, which are pivotal for games of course like Overwatch. Remember when Blizzard used to say, oh, we have 30 million active users and active accounts, 35 million, this is great. When was the last time that they did that? And will those 30 million people still be playing? Of course not. It might be down to a good chunk of people still, like 5 to 10 million, I'd say maybe. Who knows? I actually want to know, if you were to have a guess on how many people play Overwatch in a given month, do let me know in the comments, because I don't really have any clue, but I imagine it's still a lot of players, more so than you may think. But this is the general tone. A former Blizzard staffer said, you would have thought Blizzard was going under and we had no money. Blizzard as a company definitely feel very careful with money. They always had. Even when Overwatch was doing well, they didn't splash out crazy money on stupid stuff. They of course work with budgets and they know exactly what they're doing. But a former developer said this, We're being told to spend less at every corner because we have no new IP, because Overwatch set the bar on how much we can earn in a single year, and there's tons of pressure from Activision to get shit moving. And in the earnings call, which is a quarterly report, which just happened after Overwatch's launch, so that'd be Q2, so about the summer period, Activision said that it brought in over $1 billion in revenue. It's a really interesting article that came out of Kotaku and Jason Schreier. It came out last month on the 21st of November, but the more that we've seen of Blizzard doing this kind of thing, the more it's starting to look shocking on how realistic this problem is. It's a very abstract and maybe pragmatic way to look at it, but it is kind of true. Overwatch's success has spelt disaster for games like Heroes of the Storm in this case, in a very indirect fashion, but still true. But I failed to answer the question, how is this going to affect Overwatch in the future, and has it affected Overwatch already? Well, luckily, every time that Overwatch was mentioned in this article, it was in a positive light that Overwatch set the bar, and to the point where I think it really turned Activision's heads on what Blizzard can do and the money that they can make. So from Activision's perspective, they want an Overwatch every single year. Of course not like an Overwatch 2 or an Overwatch 3, but brand new IPs that are going to bring in that kind of money, that will have cosmetics and loot boxes and events that can make money for the shareholders really. They are a business at the end of the day, and they want to spend less money on games that are sort of just existing right now, unfortunately, like Heroes of the Storm and other Blizzard titles that just aren't getting their share of love right now. I really look at stuff like StarCraft and even Diablo to an extent, even though we know that new stuff's coming, and wondering what Blizzard are exactly going to do there. But it wouldn't surprise me that in 2019 we're going to have a massive BlizzCon, stuff for World of Warcraft, for Overwatch, for new IPs. That would make the most sense to reveal stuff, but when it comes to Overwatch in 2019, it really comes down to expecting the same. Or to put it in a different light, certainly don't expect more. Even if you look at the Overwatch League and the Overwatch World Cup, you can see that Blizzard are cutting costs there. Not in a massive amount, but in just certain ways that they're not adding more resources and quality into it. And certainly looking at the amazing year that the Overwatch League had in 2018, it wouldn't surprise me that in 2019 we might just see a little bit less overall. If you look at a comparison between the World Cup in 2017 and 2018, you can see big differences. In 2017 you had an analyst desk, a lot of talent that was used, lots of people involved, whereas in the World Cup for this year, especially in the qualifiers, there was no analyst desk. There was a host and an interviewer at most, but then the rest was just casters that were brought along. In terms of talent and stuff, it's not a big drop in quality. It still worked and it was still great, but you can see that Blizzard are just trying to cut out the fat and stuff in between, especially if it means that they can save money. So I'll be really interested to see how much talent is available in the Overwatch League Season 2 in comparison to Season 1. But I would assume that less people would be involved next year than this year. Think of it this way as well, 2017 had contenders finals that were their own separate entity, right? You also had the World Cup qualifiers, which were their own separate entity. In 2018, they were put together. You had the qualifiers in Paris along with the contenders finals there at the same time. They killed two birds with one stone. But in 2019, there's not going to be any LAN games. There's not going to be any finals played at an event. It's all going to be done online. And this is just one example of many where Blizzard is just slowly bringing down the costs of the Overwatch League, of contenders, and other different areas. The big concern for Overwatch is of course the amount of content that we've had this year and how stale it's all feeling, because we haven't had a lot of new stuff. You have the Retribution event from earlier this year, you have the Overwatch League, which in itself was amazing and great, but if you aren't into the esports scene, that's a bit of a problem. But of course the new heroes and reworks and stuff, which do provide new content to be fair. But everything else, the events have been the same, like Winter Wonderland has some new skins but not much else. I can tell you that I haven't played any of the new events that are in there, and because of that, it just means that Overwatch is fairly stale right now. But the problem there is that Blizzard aren't going to put any more money into Overwatch to create new content. It's going to be the same, if not a little bit less. It's a much bigger problem, and to be fair, I think Overwatch is going to get off very lightly in comparison to some of the other Blizzard games, but Activision and Blizzard are really down to just save money this year. That's exactly why we haven't seen a lot of new stuff for Overwatch. We've seen the same amount as 2017 to an extent, so that's fine, but certainly for 2019, I would expect the same. No more new heroes than 3. New events will stay fairly the same, and maybe at BlizzCon 2019 we might see some big news on Overwatch's future, but I've said that every single year since 2017 and it hasn't happened. Do let me know what you think in the comments below. Again, how many users do you think that Overwatch has currently on a monthly basis? And what do you think of the Activision Blizzard stuff, HTC and Heroes of the Storm going down? Let me know below. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you very soon.